Whatever, I remember Y2K, it was nothing like this movie. There was only a few people at our party who died from CDs to the head and a blender on the crotch. Y2K follows the classic formula of the lonely teen who just wants to kiss his crush on New Year's Eve, so he goes to the party with his wisecracking, overconfident best friend who wants to get so laid. But all of those end-of-the-world TV movies of 1999 were correct when midnight hits and the machines do come to life and try taking over the world. The movie plays along like it's Superbad meets Maximum Overdrive, and there's things to like about it. It'll have a clever gag like when they get to the house party and it's divided into sections where people represent different music stereotypes of the time. They have fun with the initial carnage when the machines come to life. It also doesn't play it safe with who lives and who dies. There are people who you think will be in it for a while, but then are gone just like that. There'd be background lines from a random person in the crowd that would be funny, and being the kind of movie it is, yeah, it's got a good soundtrack. It winks at the camera a lot about the time period, but there are parts where they're shit-talking each other at the party, and the exchanges feel authentic. But then once midnight hits, shit goes south. Mainly the movie. I really didn't like this film. Here's something that could have been very, very clever, but instead just takes a blueprint for a generic movie like this and checks all the boxes. It's one of the most first drafty movies I've seen in a while. It's got everything from one of them happens to be an ace hacker, and the machines are all on a hive mind, and to save the world, we must get to the school immediately. It struggles with tone, which could still be fine. If done well, I don't mind something that's silly, then has serious moments to remind you that the stakes are high. But when this gets super dramatic when characters die, I don't really care because I don't like the characters enough to care. It grinds to a halt when it gets serious. The characters are either annoying, or they're assholes, or they're every single lovesick teen you've seen in 100 movies by this point. They have a cameo in it too, like the movie wants its own Zombieland-like cameo, and at first I rolled my eyes, but then this person does become the best character in it, and the most likable too. For all the other characters, it's the kind of movie where they'll just stand around waiting to die because the movie says they have to. Some of the violence is funny, but is also like, why was his arm in a garbage disposal to begin with? Or like how he has his own friendly E.T. robot for a minute, just long enough to give them exposition in the form of a silly video. There's scenes that feel like they happen just so they can isolate the clip and put it on YouTube, like when the characters all sing Faith, or when there's a dance video at the end credits. Seriously, you will get way more laughs out of one of those 1999 movies that were unintentional comedies. This was a D+. It's a less clever The World's End or This Is the End. It starts mediocre and just gets worse as it goes. Now, if the gang all got together to fight a domestic terrorist group in the early 80s, well, that I could get behind. That's what I had with The Order, where Jude Law is an FBI agent investigating a series of bank robberies which all lead to a much bigger plan where a hate group led by Nicholas Hoult is funding a plan to try taking over the whole country. I love how they're far too extreme even for the Nazi church they broke off from. The minister of that church is like, hey, come on guys, this is too much. First you're making counterfeit money, now you're robbing a Sears and blowing up a porn theater. That's not what we're about, son. I really enjoyed this. I like how the main villains really aren't cartoons. If you look at isolated scenes with his family, or just doing small talk with someone, he seems like a normal guy on the outside, which makes it scarier when he starts doing cult shit. And you don't know if someone he's in a room with is gonna make it out alive. The movie doesn't reinvent the wheel for this kind of film, but I like a good chain-smoking, hard-drinking cop film like this, and it's very good at accomplishing its goal. which is feeling like it'd be a really cool Brian Brown film from the 80s, right down to Jude Law even looking a little like Brian Brown. Jude Law's great in this. It's the most burnt out I've ever seen him. It's a very quiet film too, but when the musical score does come in, it really adds to the dread of some scenes. And unlike Y2K, there's a death scene here that does hit pretty hard. It's not perfect. There's parts where it seems like the villains get away a little too easily, and they come across as harder to catch than they should be. And there's a part with someone running into a burning house later that's a little over the top, but it's a very good B+. It's not as great as something like Hell or High Water, but if you enjoyed that film a lot, I think you'll like this one too. Thanks for watching, everyone, and click on the links in the comments and in the description to pre-order the ebook edition of my new book, where this will be a fun title to promote. And stay tuned tomorrow, because I'll have reviews of Frank Grillo and Werewolves and Ray Fiennes in The Return. See you then.